All right, so welcome back to the As Told by You podcast. This is our fourth season, which is really exciting. We just randomly decide seasons. It's not...
No, I think we did decide that every year. So we're on in 2025.
Right.
The year of 2025 is season 4.
Starts with a season
Yes.
4. Okay,
That's how we're
cool.
doing it.
It's kind of like the Netflix seasons. Like you just get it when you get it. It's not dependent on
batch releasing.
Yeah, it's like whatever. We're just going to give you all of them. And today we've got a really exciting guest because Rick is kind of the first guest we've had that's not a friend of mine already and is not a friend of yours already.
I literally just shook his hand for the first time.
It's a new friend. So we're making new friends. And so Rick, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, I'm a Columbia native, born and raised here. I moved away a little bit, went down to Florida for a while, and then back to Charleston, and then back to Columbia. I'm an aviator by trade. I flew corporate jets for a living for a long time. Had an aircraft sales company for a long time. And so I was pretty much in the aviation world for most of my career, and always ran boats. And then after I retired, the spirit of Lake Murray became available. I had a good friend, Norman Agnew's Lake Service, and we talked about it and decided to buy the boat and tried to expand it a little bit and make it work.
Wow. So aviation, so how'd you get into aviation? Is it military?
No, it wasn't. I was always infatuated with airplanes. I mean, every time one would go over as a kid, I'd look up at it. My dad actually flew the Burma-China hump in World War II, not as a pilot, but as an engineer. And so I just kind of had a natural draw towards airplanes, and I loved it. And I went out to the airport one day I think I was 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
And I have a little different scenario. You guys have seen me. I was born without a left hand.
Oh, okay.
And I went out and asked the guys if there was any way I could learn how to fly. And they needed lunch money that day, so they took me up. And I've always been able to do things. It's never been a big issue. And one thing led to another. When I was 21, I was flying airplanes for a living. Actually, for the state newspaper, they had an airplane.
Wow.
And I flew for them starting in my 20s.
That's amazing. So when you went to take over the Spirit of Lake Murray, what in the world, like you were like, yeah, I can do this. Where did that come from?
That's a good question. I've always been a challenge-oriented kind of guy. And I already had a master's captain's license. I'd acquired that over the years.
Because you had other boats.
Yeah, I had.
How do you get that?
Yeah, well, you have to have experience. You have to have a certain amount of days at sea. To have a captain's license, like a master's captain's license, is a tonnage thing. So I was lucky enough to have owned and operated a few bigger boats, progressively. And worked up to 100-ton license, which is what you need for the Spirit of Lake Murray. And I did charters. I did charters in Charleston. I did them in Florida, offshore stuff, and then back here in Columbia on the Lake Murray, we do a lot of six-pack charters on Lake Murray. The Purple Martins, just sightseeing, that type of thing. I've been doing that for several years.
And he knows Zach Steinhauser.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I actually.
If you know Purple Martins, you know Zach.
Yeah,
right.
I actually ran his tours one year, but when he was going off to do something.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while, but learned a lot about Purple Martins from just doing it.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a history buff?
Not really.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you when you're on the boat of the Spirit of Lake Murray, do you provide like a tour of
what
the
we do,
lake, or is it just a party boat?
No, it's not a party boat. Let me back up and say we do have an absolute dedicated history tour on Lake Murray that we recorded, and we've got a nice sound system on the boat. Mm-hmm. And once we come out of the dock and go by Lake Murray Marina, we hit that button and it talks about Lake Murray Marina. It goes up by the water, treatment plant, and it talks about how they get water out of the lake. We go by Susie Ebert Island. We talk about the history of that, Goat Island, and then we talk about the Purple Martins, so we give a history of the lake, when it was built, and how it came about. So we do have an explicit history tour of the lake.
Yeah.
That Norman actually he's got a great voice, and he did a lot of research on that, and he grew up on the lake just kind of like I did, but he knew a lot about it, and so we used his voice, not mine.
So your attraction to the Spirit of Lake Murray was like your kind of connection to boats and having that captain's license. What made you feel like I can take this and renovate it and make a business out of it?
Well, I've always had my own businesses, so a little bit of an entrepreneurial type spirit, and I know the boat had been pretty busy for 10 years until the previous owner had some health issues, and he couldn't get it certified anymore, and he decided to sell it. So I knew the business was there. I'll give him credit because the vision to go to Florida, bring that boat back to Charleston, have it lifted out of the water, actually take the top half of the boat off because it was too large to bring up to Columbia on a flatbed, unless you basically cut it in half.
Yeah.
To do all that and the expense, and then the vision to say, this has never been done before on Lake Murray, but I'm going to do it.
Right.
I give him credit for that.
And it's something that I knew about, I guess, before, because I was telling Rick I had only ever been on the Spirit on a Irmo chamber event. So we went on the Spirit of Lake Murray that one time. But I knew about it before that. So, I mean, it did a good job of kind of letting people know that it's out there. You don't have to kind of be in the community, in the Lake Murray community, to know about it.
No, it's a unique scenario. You know, it's the only U.S. Coast Guard certified vessel on Lake Murray. Period.
Interesting.
What is that? What does that give you?
What it gives
who cares?
You, okay. Well, I'll tell you what it does, and it's a difficult thing to get.
Yeah.
If you get what we call a 6-pack license, which anybody that runs an 18-foot boat can get. Go to school for a weekend and you pass a test and you get what they call a 6-pack. That means you can take out in your pontoon boat or little vehicle 6 people, and you can charge them to do that. And Coast Guard has nothing really to do with it as far as inspecting the vessel. When you get beyond 6 people, if you want a boat that you can handle, that can handle 20 or 30, then that boat basically has to be inspected by the Coast Guard. Now, they come up from Charleston, and believe me, they get involved. So when we pull the Spirit of Lake Murray out of the water at Agnews, they had a rail system where we could pull that boat out, and it weighs over 100,000 pounds. It's 80 feet long. It stayed on the rails for 14 months, and we completely rebuilt the boat. We put a brand new bottom on it. We gutted the inside, threw everything away, put all new bathrooms on the boat, a new bar, a new flooring, new galley, redid the whole helm with all new avionics, that's airplane talk, navionics on the boat. So we spent 14 months redoing this boat. We knew the business was there because it previously was there.
Right.
Our plan was to get a kitchen certified boat,
right,
with a liquor license. We can sell beer, liquor, and wine. We knew that would expand the draw of that boat, and our plan was to get that galley certified and get a good chef and put good food on the boat, which we have. The food is excellent, and that'll draw a lot of people. So we do a lot of dinner cruises on the boat.
Yeah,
like corporate or family dinner cruises.
Yeah, we do a lot of. The more corporate stuff we can do, the more we want to do. It's a very very lucrative, and and you can plan for one event, and the charge rate is a little different. We charge by the hour when it's a private event, and we can hold up to 96 people on the boat, plus crew. And so we normally limit it to not limit it. If it's a dinner cruise, we try to limit it to about 70, 75 people because you order from a menu.
Yeah.
And it takes that much time, 2 hours to prepare, order.
So it's
prepare, and get
fresh food. It's not
it
catered.
is absolutely no.
Wow.
See, they catered before because they didn't have a license.
Didn't have
to
the
do
galley.
that. They didn't have a galley. They had a galley, but it wasn't a certified DHEC galley. Ours is. Everything in it's brand new, and we have an A rating, obviously.
Yeah.
And so the food's good. We normally have a steak, a chicken, mahi type fish or swordfish, sides, desserts. So we're a floating restaurant.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's great. Well, what do you want people to get out of the experience of the Spirit of Lake Murray? So when somebody's done with a cruise, what do you want them to?
I want them to come back thinking, man, they did a great job. The boat is beautiful. It's super modern. The food was excellent. The service was really good. Steve Price is our general manager. He's managed a couple of different restaurants here in Columbia. He knows what he's doing, and so he really focuses on service, and our people are good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're running Purple Martin cruises, so during the summer. So.
We came up with, hey, let's do Purple Martin cruises. So we did maybe 3 a week last season.
Right.
Well, we were booked. I mean, we were full.
Yeah.
We had to add them. And so this year we're going to probably every cruise we take from mid
July and
July
August.
to end of August, probably 8 weeks really, because they do start showing up a little earlier sometimes. It's going to be a dinner / Purple Martin cruise.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to do 4, maybe 5 of them a week during that period.
And you
of time.
anticipate having 90 people on the boat?
Yeah, we'll take. Well, if we're going to do the dinner part of it, we're probably still going to limit it to about 75.
Okay.
And we'll have just more cruises, so you can get on. So
The Purple Martin thing is one of the most amazing things
It
I've
is.
ever seen. And 2 of my favorite natural things that I've ever seen or happened in Columbia. One is the Calgary Fireflies, which you can't really see anymore because they put that lottery in and nobody wins the lottery. Like Zach can't even win the lottery. But the Purple Martins are unbelievable. Have you ever seen it? You ever seen the phenomenon?
well, it's amazing. I
It's
mean,
crazy.
If you can explain to somebody, man, the sky goes black with birds, and it's amazing, and they go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you take them out there, and they see it. Multiply that by 10.
Yeah.
They go, I can't believe what I just saw.
What's the wind that they create when they fly over and
Oh,
all
it's
that
amazing.
stuff? It's
It really
it's
is.
unreal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, when we go out on the boat all the time and are just if we're at Elaine's parents' house at that time of day, we are definitely going out there
yeah.
just to hang out, and the birds are basically flying by your head.
It's, I take the boat out. I captain the boat probably a little more than half the time because Norman's got a full-time job running Agnew Lake Service, but he does a lot of it too.
Yeah.
And so I've probably taken, I can't even imagine how many, in the last 4 years. Every time I go out and the birds are good, I'm sitting there just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't get tired of it.
Well, I remember I helped Zach with his documentary on the Purple Martins for a couple of years, and I remember talking to him to begin with about it, and just seeing how he kind of grew up on Lake Murray, and kind of the Purple Martins became a thing with him, and he just got kind of obsessed with where are they coming from, where are they going, what is this?
It's a phenomenon.
And
it's amazing.
and it was wild to kind of see him go through the process and then watch the documentary about about what he did. And
that
I
was
think
Purple Haze, right?
the Purple Haze, yeah.
Right.
And then when I went with him to Brazil to shoot that part of it, and the absolutely amazing thing is when we got to Brazil, we went out to the Amazon basin. We got into the river. We went down the river, and this was the Rio Negro, which is like on the other side. But to the place where they roost in the Amazon, it looks exactly like Lake Murray.
Does it?
It's insane.
Okay.
It's a river, but it's as wide as Lake Murray. It's a couple miles wide, and you don't have an island there like you have in Lake Murray. What it is the top of the trees because it's the rainy season. And in the rainy season, the entire thing floods up to about 40 feet.
Oh.
So what you're talking about is the very tips of the trees, and they look like islands. And so we went out in little boats at sunset, just like on Lake Murray, and here they came out of nowhere, foosh, and they fooshed right into the top of the trees, and then they're done, and they're gone. And you can hear them chirping, but they're not flying anymore. Then the morning, same thing. We went up at about 6 o'clock in the morning. They all left from the same island, went out, and it's a crazy thing to see. So that's a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Y'all are able to do that for people here, because I don't think that unless you have a boat, like in y'all's situation, you don't have a chance to see it unless somebody takes you out there.
You really don't. Yeah. That's one of the things you asked me earlier about what you hope to accomplish. And Lake Murray is such a beautiful place, and it's been around here for a long time.
Right.
And a lot of people do not get to experience it.
Right.
And so that's one of the things too. I think the count or number of people is just not unlimited, but it's. We have one lady that used to go on the boat with the previous owner. And she's been on it since we've had it, probably about a dozen times. And last count, it was just under 100 times she's been on that boat.
Wow.
And she loves it.
Yeah.
And she keeps coming back. And we got to the point now where, we'll give her trips to just come on the boat because she's just a really big proponent of the boat. She spreads the word.
Well, what's your biggest challenge? What do you feel like is the challenge for the Spirit of Lake Murray right now?
Getting the word out, even though I think most people know the Spirit of Lake Murray is here. And, we have, I know you guys are in the business, but we have a media company that promotes the boat. Word of mouth is the best thing you can get, and good word of mouth. It was a good event. It was a well-done boat. Challenge-wise, it's just like any business. Make sure and keep our food in really good food, really good service, and we don't want anybody to get on the boat and be disappointed.
Yeah.
So, we give them a good couple of hours, and I think all the work we put into the boat to make it what it is now, hopefully you guys can come see it at some point because it is a totally different boat. And you can go on our website and see that.
What I guess as you were describing all the work, I'm assuming it wasn't documented, like you weren't filming it, pictures had to have been taken.
I've got a lot
right?
of pictures. I've got a lot of pictures where the boat was, you could throw a football through it.
What
that type thing. I mean, we completely gutted the boat. But
do you mind sharing what that investment number was?
Well, it was big.
Seven figures big.
Well, it was big. I mean, it was. You're not going to get involved in a boat like this and not have a pretty much a seven-figure number.
I was really surprised when you told me that you bought it and spent 13 or 14 months renovating it.
Yeah.
Like, because as a business person, I'm thinking like, if I'm making moves in my business, I need to make them now. I need it to go now. I need to do this within the next 2 weeks, right? I'm not thinking I'll have a business working in the next 14 months. Like that's wild.
It was a huge undertaking for both Norman and myself.
Yeah.
And we were both, Norman's got a very good business. They've been on the lake 40 years building docks. His dad started it, Joe. And Norman's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met and can handle a boat like nobody's business. And he's a leader kind of guy. And I came back, I came from my own self-induced entrepreneurial life, I guess. I had an aircraft sales company. I've been in the car business. I've been in a lot of different businesses.
I was going to ask you if you had a truck driver's license to go with all.
We laugh about it. I said the only thing I almost got a CDL one time because I actually wanted to do that. I think that'd be fun. But
Well, you get the boat to the ocean. That'd be a way to.
so,
by air, by land, and by sea, right?
right? Yeah, trains.
Trains,
I'd
yeah.
love,
Trains, there you go.
I'd love to be an engineer on a train. I mean, I just like
Sure.
I like running things, and we just had the wherewithal to be able to do it, and so that was a big plus.
Yeah.
And yeah, anytime you endeavor to do something like this, it runs into a bigger number than you think, but it was not unmanageable.
Becomes a passion project, I
It
imagine,
does,
too.
and the first year, we exceeded what we thought we would do. We did, to the calendar day, December 28th, I think it was, we did our 200th cruise in 1 year.
Yeah.
Now that's a cruise every 1.8 days.
Wow.
I did the math on that, and we figured we'd do 125, 140 the first year, and we did 200. So that was encouraging,
Right.
and rewarding,
Right.
to the point that this is successful. People want to do it, and they want to get on the boat. So
Yeah, that's great. Well, what does the future of the Spirit of Lake Murray look like for you? Where do you take it from here?
we just keep doing what we're doing. We improve on it. We try. One of the things that's interesting to try to do is to create different adventures for people.
Right.
Like if it snowed heavily in South Carolina or in Columbia today, and we had snow all over the ground, I think it'd be beautiful to go out on the boat Saturday and see all that.
Yeah.
From the
Do
water.
a snow cruise.
Yeah, snow cruise. I mean,
Sure.
we create, anything that makes sense and we think will be interesting to people.
Yeah, I was almost thinking like you need to have it become its own attraction in terms of there's an event happening every month
Oh yeah.
Yeah, monthly.
where
Yeah.
where the Spirit of Lake Murray is kind of the central part of it. Not necessarily just the cruise, but just like when you were talking about your guy how he manages the boat, right?
Right.
Have you seen those videos where they are docking boats and it's like a boat docking competition?
Oh, yeah.
And they take these giant
Back
boats and they
them.
back them
Back
into
them
the
in.
dock.
Oh, yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
going like 30
Yeah, who can
knots
get it
an hour.
faster? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool to have some sort of like big event.
Yeah,
just
it'd be
attached to
interesting
the
if you
name
come
of
up
it,
with
really.
something. Let me know. We're not going to be coming towards the dock in a 125,000-pound boat real fast, but like I tell everybody, and I've instructed some boating in my past, and the number one theme is you don't ever want to go any faster than you want to hit the dock.
Right.
And so when I'm pulling that Spirit in, and we actually come in and actually do a 180 in a kind of small cove, and then actually hook the front of the boat on a piling and spin it around into the dock. And people, if you tell somebody that, they go, "Really?" It's not hard, but you can't do it real fast. And so that's we get people all the time getting up on the side of the boat, on the inside of the boat, just watching us do it because it looks like it's an event, but it's really not very difficult.
Yeah, that is interesting. Well, I was there another boat? Am I remembering this wrong? Were there another boat out there?
There was, and
Okay.
actually the Agnews owned it.
Okay.
This is back in the day.
Uh-huh.
It was the Patriot.
Okay, the
and it was
Patriot,
a
that's right.
60-foot long wooden boat, believe it or not, from I think it was out of Virginia or Norfolk area or something.
Right.
That actually Norman's dad Joe, he had the very first idea of doing this, and he's retired now, but very much his own man, believe me. And he went up and bought this boat. It was some kind of work boat or something. I forget what exactly it was. I remember seeing the boat go by my house on
Yeah.
the lake back before I actually knew Norman and Joe, and it was very successful. And they did that for years and years. In fact, Norman had his master's captain's license either 19 or 20, and it was as early as you can get it. He was our youngest master captain around in South Carolina ever. And he ran that boat a good bit. And it was successful. They didn't have a restaurant on the boat, and they didn't have, obviously, a beer,
Yeah.
wine, liquor license. But they were very successful. They sold it to a family and maintained the boat there. And I think, from what I understand, that family had pulled the boat out of the water on that same rail system that we used, and they let it sit out of the water too long and would, change shape.
Yeah.
End of the story, they had to destroy the boat.
Wow.
And but about the end of that endeavor, when the Patriot was still going, that's when the previous owners of the Spirit
started it.
Brought this boat up here. Mm-hmm. So he may have gotten the idea actually from Ag News to begin with. I don't know.
But honestly, the barrier to entry in your business is enormous. Like,
oh yeah,
for us, the barrier to entry in our business is nothing. Right? You have to own a phone. Right? Yeah. I ran across a guy last night at a networking thing. He presented himself as a content creator, and I'm like, "Oh, that's great." I was like, "What do you shoot on?" He's like, "I just a phone." I was like, "Oh, well, okay. That's the barrier to entry in our business."
Yeah.
So
this was a
7-figure investment. That's something nobody's going to take on.
It's a big
not nobody.
Well, I mean, but like,
I mean, it's a big. Numbers are bigger. Mm-hmm. But as long as we continue doing what we're doing, we're fine.
Yeah, you're going to catch back up to it.
Yeah, we'll catch up to that.
Yeah,
but, it's and it's also once you've done all this work to this boat, and once you see it, you'll understand what I'm saying. You have an asset there that's worth a lot of money.
Yeah,
a lot of money. It's a U.S. Coast Guard certified vessel.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean a lot to you guys, but I'll give you a hint. In the 14 months that we were redoing this boat, the Coast Guard, we became on first name basis with these guys. They were up here from Charleston. They'd bring 3 or 4 guys. Every week they'd spend half a day with us.
Wow.
Seeing what we've done.
Inspecting what you guys do every week.
Everything. Every weld, again, the bottom of the boat is brand new. I mean, we pulled all the steel off the bottom of the boat. It's a steel boat. Every weld, inside, and then they call back welding, outside the weld, the outside weld, the inside weld on the same seam.
Yeah.
They have to be tested. Every weld. It's an 80-foot boat. It's 20 feet wide, and we used 8 by 10 sheets. You do the math.
Yeah.
And we had to buy this contraption that sucked with air pressure onto the welds. And then we had to put some liquid in there, and if you saw any liquid coming through the weld, any bubble, you had to redo that weld.
Wow.
And we had, I think, 1 bubble.
Wow.
The welders were good, but every weld on that boat was inspected by the Coast Guard. Everything. So,
So
it's not going to sink, is what you're saying.
No. That boat, I'm not worried about the hull on that boat.
Don't jinx it. You don't have to go back to this now.
Hit Bomb Island. And
yeah, that's right. Well, my wife and son were able to go see when they pulled one of the bombers up from Lake Murray. Mm-hmm. This would have been 2007 or 8, maybe, somewhere around in there. But anyway, they pulled one of the bombers up from the bottom of the lake and got it out to restore it, and they got to see.
And I'm not sure how much. I know Norman's pulled 1 or 2 or 3 airplanes up.
Yeah.
Because he's got barges and everything else.
Yeah.
Probably has the most knowledge of anybody on the lake to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Also,
that stuff is fascinating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so he's there was a Cirrus, one of that single engine airplane with a parachute. The new ones. I've flown those a little bit, and one guy was coming, over Columbia going somewhere, and his engine messed up. He just pulls a chute right over Lake Murray.
Wow.
And there it comes, and Norman actually got that one up. We got pictures of that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
It's fascinating that kind of stuff, I guess probably happens at every lake where you've got a whole bunch of stuff down there.
Oh yeah.
But I've never been a scuba diver or any of that stuff, but it would be interesting to go down there and see what what's still.
Especially when Lake Murray in itself has a city underneath it. So.
Oh, it's got all kind of towns under it.
Yeah.
Churches and graveyards. That's one of the things we talk about.
Yeah.
There's a bridge.
Yeah.
The old bridge.
Yeah.
Went from Lexington over to Chapin, supposedly, or
now,
whatever.
I'll tell you one of the kind of first things that I ever did in real estate was Kenyon Wells' house. I was trying to help Kenyon sell his house, which I still don't think he.
No, he still lives there.
Does, yeah. But anyway, I was out there one day when the lake had been drawn down, and he pointed out the bridge, which is visible from his house when the lake is down. It's not like, but he's like, that's where the bridge is over there. And I was like, that's the craziest thing that there's that much stuff below.
Yeah, a lot of
Lake
guys, divers, I know several of them, Norman's diver, that actually go down, around the dam, or they'll go where the bridge is and take shots of that.
Yeah, that's some cool
It
stuff.
really is some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm becoming more of a history fan as I get older.
Well, you asked me earlier if I'm a history. I'm not a history fan, and I guess things I like. I like to know the history of, and Lake Murray is one of those things.
Yeah,
sure.
I think it's an interesting element, and living in Columbia, one of the very interesting elements of it is how much natural stuff we have access to, like the purple martins, like the fireflies. Mm-hmm. The crazy cicada thing that happened last year. Did you see that? Did you go anywhere in Chapin area during the cicadas coming out? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, you could hear them every.
It was a 10-year hatching or something of cicadas, and we went to Dreher Island for Mother's Day, and they were drowning out. You couldn't hear anything because of the cicadas being so loud, and they were everywhere. Like, we had to keep the food covered because cicadas were getting all over the tables and stuff. It was wild.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of that kind of stuff that happens here, which I think is really, really awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, Rick, we're gonna finish up with our 5 questions.
Okay.
Yes.
So here's where we go with.
This has
with
not
the end.
been pre-done, so I don't know what.
No, that's right. Yeah. We're just going to be off the dome.
Spontaneous.
And
It
if you
gives
don't
us-
have an answer, no problem. We'll
It
move
gives
on to
us
the next
a
one.
general idea of who this person really is.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what is your favorite dessert?
Oh goodness. Cheesecake.
Nice.
New York style?
Yeah.
Now that's
Yeah.
the second answer that was cheesecake that we've gotten, which is interesting.
It is a popular dessert.
I mean,
right?
yeah. I would look at cheesecake as though a kind of like, I love vanilla ice cream, right? But most people wouldn't say vanilla ice cream as their favorite thing, because cheesecake can be 1,000 things, and it's mostly a platform for other stuff, right? So you'd have strawberries or raspberries.
I hadn't found a cheesecake I don't like. And
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
eaten a
That's
lot
true.
of
That's
them.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, to the point that they've made a whole factory.
Yeah, they
for
did.
cheesecakes.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
What is your favorite season?
Fall.
Fall.
Yeah, that's the most common answer, especially in Columbia because of football, I think.
Well, January, like this is.
Yeah.
Sorry, January. I don't like January. It's slow and it's dismal, and if it snows, that kind of picks it up a little bit. I
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
But I'm looking forward to spring. But I really like summertime's so hot around here that whenever that temperature breaks a little bit, it's pretty nice.
Certainly, the season of the year changes based on where you live.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And we've got 4 good
In terms
seasons
of
there. So.
Yeah.
what your favorite might be.
We have clear seasons. Yeah, absolutely.
What is your favorite fictional character,
That would be an adventurer.
or who is your favorite fictional
Well, I
character?
say he's fictional. Daniel Boone, I guess. I don't
Nice.
know.
Oh, okay.
So I went to Virginia for the first time last
Right.
year, and there is a Daniel Boone trail or something that like places that he went to, and there's historical markers everywhere about Daniel Boone did this here or whatever it is. And
I actually on the phone, this is an interesting little sideline to that. When I was selling aircraft, we had that for about 18 years. We did a lot of corporate jet sales and things. I actually, on the phone, I received a phone call one day, and the guy was asking me about a jet we had. And I'm good with recognizing voices. And I just knew I knew this guy. And we talked and talked, and I said, look, I got to know who are you? It was Fess Parker. Used to be Daniel Boone.
play Daniel Boone.
Daniel Boone.
Whoa.
He was a movie star back in the day.
Nice.
And he opened a winery out in California. It's still going. And we talked multiple times, but I'll never forget that story. But
Well, that leads us into the next question. What is your favorite TV show / sitcom?
oh, my favorite well, they're gone now, but Seinfeld was the best sitcom for me.
I'm into season 8 of Seinfeld. I'm watching
So
it.
amazing.
I'm watching it again. I watched it the first time, obviously, when it came out, but I'm watching it again. Season 8 has been strange because that's the season that Larry David left, and everything is getting weird.
Oh, it gets weird. Yes.
George hired a contractor to outfit his desk so he could sleep under his desk.
Right. I remember that.
And he got trapped in there because George Steinbrenner decided to stay in his office and wait for him all day. I'm like, well, this is about as far-fetched a plot as you're going to run into, you
Right.
know. But
Yeah, the last episode I didn't like at all.
yeah,
That was weird.
it went off the rails, I think.
Yeah,
toward
it
the end.
did.
But that's always been my favorite too, and I've always
yeah.
told people that was my favorite. And I think maybe I'm switching now that I'm watching it again with kind of maybe fresh eyes. I may be switching my favorite to The Office. I might have to say that, but The Office had its problems too.
Yeah.
So
Not a fan of The Office.
yeah.
Last question. What is your favorite song?
Oh, gosh, I'm not a music person. Skip to the next one. I really don't.
Puppies or babies?
Oh, puppies.
Okay. Nice.
Puppies.
Brian's got a baby now, so Brian's
Well, you might
favorite
have
is now
both
babies.
then.
Yeah.
I love it all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, Rick, thank you so much for being on the
Thank you,
podcast,
guys.
man.
Yes,
This
thank
was
you.
a lot of fun
Appreciate
talking to you. And I would say we might schedule a team building cruise for the Spirit of Lake Murray
Absolutely.
in the spring. That'd be
When the weather breaks.
when the weather breaks.
Well,
A little bit
actually,
warmer.
that-
We could go on the snow cruise. Is there a discount for a snow cruise?
Well, here's the thing. Let me make this statement before we end it. You know, I have so many people come to me and say, "Well, when it gets a little warmer," I said, "Whoa, guys, do you eat in the wintertime?"
Yeah.
And they go, "Well, yeah." I said, "This boat is heated and cool. We have brand new air conditioners. It's no different than going to a restaurant and you don't get cold, you know, sitting in the middle of the restaurant."
That's true.
So come on.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're
All right.
we're
Oh, there you go. Well, we will definitely try to do it in the spring anyway. But that's
a good time.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Rick, for being on.
Thank
and
you,
It's
guys.
good talking to you.